our channel. In this episode, we will be doing a breakdown of our Uragan rifle and how to tune the rifle. So stay tuned, hit the subscribe button so you don't miss anything, and enjoy our video.
Hey everyone, so here we go. Today we got for you the Airgun Technology Uragan rifle in .25 caliber, the standard, not the compact version. We're gonna be showing you folks a bit of a teardown for this rifle, so hang tight, and hopefully this is something that can be useful. That way you can get the hang of tuning, give you folks the confidence of, you know, looking at the ins and outs and the different components of the rifle. So that way you can kind of tune it to your function and needs. So um, hopefully it'll help a lot of you with some questions with the rifle, or some of you that might be a little bit kind of nervous to tear it down. It's not that bad, very simple, and we'll show you how to go about doing that today. So hang tight, and here we go. All right, so let's start with the lever, the Biathlon cocking mechanism. And on this one, it's on the right side, but we actually ordered the rifle and we didn't specify. Um, but you could specify them, I'm guessing. We didn't, and it was from factory, it was on the left side. But for the purposes of this demonstration, we put it on the right side so we can show you um, where we can switch it from the right to the left and how simple it is. So hopefully this helps you folks wondering how to do it. If you folks are a little bit sketchy with doing it, but kind of nervous to do it because you might mess it up, or whatever the case. No, it's fairly simple to do. So it just basically, the plate is held by 4 star bits, and don't use power tools. Don't recommend it. You may scratch up the rifle, or you may strip the bolts. So just stick to manual hand tools and you'll be fine. This is a T10 star bit for the plates. So just remember, use hand tools. Once you got the 4 screws out, you just basically lift the cocking lever just a little bit so that it frees up some room, and then the section as it the plate's widest point, you can kind of work it out, and as simple as that, real easy. So, and now you've got all of the parts exposed, and you can see here. So, and it's basically one main screw that holds the biathlon lever in place, and the other is just back piece that kind of held into place via I'm not sure what it's called, but it's basically just fits in a slot and keeps it in place, and the only thing that's locking it in place is the plate itself. So that's just one screw, and that's basically it. And you should have just lifted out of the way Don't force it. You might have to play with it just a little bit, but it just don't use significant force, otherwise you may bend it. But it just takes a little bit of effort. Pull it straight out because it just fits perfectly into a slot, and that's basically it. You can see there, I just removed one screw and pulled it out. And onto the left side, we're gonna remove the plate. Same thing, same star bit uh, size, and we're gonna go ahead and remove 4 screws. Nothing to it, same as the other side, just removing it. Use hand tools, manual hand tools, not a because it's aluminum. The plate is aluminum, and I believe the screws are also aluminum or soft alloy of sort. It's not hardened steel or anything. So just be aware of that. Don't use impact drivers or whatnot to get them out. Just use hand tools. It doesn't take significant amount of force. It's very easy. And putting it back, the same thing. You don't need to over tighten them. Just right, just snug fit. That's it. Give you folks a little bit confidence, with the vibration. Just make sure you kind of slightly snug it a little bit tight, but yeah, don't overdo it. So this one, there's nothing underneath, basically just a plate, and move it to the other side. Don't worry about switching the screws because it's same threads and everything as the other side, so don't worry about that. And this time is a good time to do some cleaning, removing excess grease or gummed up grease from factory, whatever the case for your rifle, but and reapply new if you need to. But use your best judgment. Since you're here, you might as well do some cleaning. But mine was already clean because I already did it, but I'm just moving it back where it's supposed, where we prefer it. So now when you remove it from the right side and moving it to the left side, now you're gonna have to switch the I'm not sure what you call that, but the handle for the Biathlon. So basically you're just gonna turn it upside down to right side up. So, and it's just Allen screw here. It's not a star bit, it's an Allen screw. And you just kind of just switch it, put it opposite way of what it is, and you're basically done. If you want, you can put a blue thread lock here, because this one you need to put a little bit more of effort. Don't overdo it again, but enough, nice and tight, but not too tight. Just use best judgment. You don't need, but I would prefer you folks use a blue Loctite, like a thread locker, one that, not the permanent one, the one that's removable. And you just reverse the process here, and sort of you put the side right there, the side that fits into place. There's a little piston looking rod, but that rod is a spacer to keep it in place. So you just want to make sure that's perfectly centered, and then you put it into place. So right there, you see me adjusting it a little bit to make sure it's right at the center point, because if you don't, you're gonna have a tough time putting it in. So right there, make sure it's nice and centered, and then push it into place. It shouldn't be difficult. It should be just a little bit of effort, and it's in. It's a perfect fit. So, and once it's in, you pretty much, you're good to go. All you need to do now is put back the one screw that holds the Biathlon onto the um, cocking mechanism, and you're basically done. Make sure it's nice and snug as well. So once you got them nice and snug, go just a little bit more and you're good. Don't over tighten. You don't want to strip that portion, trust me. It's a little bit tough to strip because it's hardened steel, but yeah, just you don't need to overdo it. If you want, you can put a thread locker here as well. That's all it takes right there. You're pretty much done. All you got to do is put the plate back. Make sure you got the plate in the area where the screws kind of indents in. Okay, so just pay attention to that right here. Just make sure the screw can, you know, the side where there's an indentation, that's the outside of the plate. And you just put it the same way like it came out. So right here I'm doing showing you folks a little bit of there's a excess grease, so I use a cleaner real quick, remove it, and reapplying a bit of a silicone. Now would be a good time to get the body armor out of the way. Just basically 3 Allen screws, one right underneath the bottom of the handle. So you loosen that out. Again, hand tool. You don't need to get it extra tight, or it doesn't take significant amount of force to, you know, put it into place or remove it. So manual hand tools, once again, get it out. Very simple. As you can see here, there's only 3, 2 right at underneath where you see right here, and the other one is near where my right hand thumb is, and you'll see it in a little bit. Later on when you're putting it back, just snug it once again. Don't overdo it. Just snug it doesn't, I mean, 3 screws locking it in place anyway, so you don't need to worry about it getting loose out in the field or whatnot. So here, showing you the bit size, you can go ahead and, you know, once again, it's hand tool. Very easy. Especially this section. When you're putting it back, don't over tighten because it will smash in that ballistic polymer. It's kind of like a soft plastic of sorts. So make sure it's guided, and meaning it's all aligned before you even tighten it when you're putting it back. So, and once you got all 3 out, it's just basically a pull straight down and you're done. Now you got it exposed pretty much, and you can do more maintenance and cleaning at this point. So once you got them all cleaned up, put the plate back for the Biathlon cover. Again, pay attention to the orientation of the screw. It should be, the outside has an indentation for the screw to completely be flat once you put it in. And then, you know, just make sure, don't forget, if you did clean out the excess grease, to reapply grease, or in my case I put a little bit of silicone here. I prefer silicone. I don't like to put grease. All dependent. Right, which for me it was readily available. I clean my guns periodically anyway, so it really, you know, to me, it really doesn't matter. I prefer the silicone. Smells better too. Easier to apply. So this is the part where you have to pay attention. You know you got them right. You know you got the Biathlon fitment in the right place when this plate is completely flat against the frame. So pay attention to that. Don't force it. Don't tighten it. Think, the screw on the back half. Make sure it's completely flush. And it will show you here in a little bit. Because if it's not flush, when you put it in place like this, something is wrong. You want to remove it back and make sure that the section where there is no screw, the first piece that you put in, that's nice and flush in its place. Okay, so right here, make sure it's nice and flush. And don't think putting in the screw while it's not flush and putting in the screw and then you're gonna tighten it down and it should flatten. No, don't even think about it. You're gonna ruin your plate or your screw. So just make sure it's nice and flush there. You don't need a screw tightened to make it flush. It should go flush when you just put it in place. You know you got it right when that's sitting nice and flush. After that, it's simply a matter of, making sure don't tighten. The first screw, you want to put it into place. Don't tighten it all the way to full. You want to get it into place, get it to the point where you got a good amount of thread in, and then put all the rest of the screws. Once you got all the rest of the screws in, then you can tighten the screws pretty much snug tight. And keyword snug tight. All right, and that way you're ensuring that all the screws are lined up properly, and you don't risk you minimize the risk of stripping the screws or the thread. So once they're all lined up, go ahead and tighten them cross section. Again, snug tight. I keep repeating myself, but just snug tight. Once you got them in and snug fit all the screws, double check them if you need to, and basically just clean off any excess grease you may have. And this time it can be a good time to test the lever. Make sure it's not binding or grinding against the plate or anything. But for now, let's go ahead and put the opposite side plate. And of course, self-explanatory, same way you did. Put in the screw, nice and loose just to get them into place. Don't tighten yet, just a few threads is fine. And put the other ones all the same way, a few threads until all of them are threaded in properly. Then you can go ahead and tighten each one individually. Snug fit when I mean tighten. This plate is fairly easy to put back since you don't have to worry about other components. It should pretty much fit flush right off the bat without any thought or effort. So because there isn't any other component that it has to tie in with except the screw itself. That's it. So once again, once you got them all tightened, clean off any excess grease. Once you got them all in, and that's basically it. Easy peasy. All right, so let's take it back to the left side and make sure that we'll mess around with the lever, make sure that it's not binding or anything. We want to be able to fully cock it without any binding or grinding. It should be as smooth. Just remember, when you cock it all the way, just put a little bit of pressure on the Biathlon lever and while squeezing the trigger to decock it. So for this part, you can see the hammer spring tension adjustment, but you need to make sure that you remove or kind of back up the screw, the Allen screw that locks the hammer spring tension adjuster. So just back it up some, and then from this angle, from this side of the rifle, you can sort of, you know, clockwise adjustment, which is upwards, you increase tension, and then back it up counterclockwise, you decrease tension to the hammer spring. You kind of have to get the feel and the balance for the velocity that you want, and just remember, the more you increase, there's a certain point it will peak out, and you'll have to sort of mess with the regulator. At this point, we're not gonna go in depth with the regulator adjustment because I don't think it's necessary. For now, we'll just keep it basic and upwards from this side of the rifle to increase tension, hammer spring tension, and downwards counterclockwise to decrease hammer tension. And you can gain a little bit of velocity, but go one, small increments at a time. To remove the top cheek piece cover, you'll be able to access the barrel and the pellet probe. So it's just a matter of removing six starbit screw, 3 per side, as you can see here. This one, when you put it back, just because it's a thin ballistic polymer sort of plastic, you don't want to tighten it because you're gonna pretty much pinch up or smash in the plastic, the ballistic polymer synthetic cover. So just snug it in place when you put it back. So you can remove the 3 screws from per side, and then that's pretty much it. Just remember that it looks like there'll be 2 additional, but they're blanks. I'm not sure why that it is that way, but the back screw, it looks like it's missing, but if you really look, there's no screw there. So it's just 3 screws, starbit screw, and you just kind of remove it like you see here. Hand tools, once again, manual tools. And once you got them out, all the screws, you just sort of take a little tug straight up, and that's it. That's all it is. So from here, this section, I can't remove mine, so I can't show you because the factory messed up by probably over using an impact tool to tighten the retaining screws, but there's 4 of them that holds your barrel in place. so you can remove it for cleaning. Basically, find the right fitment, get them out. I got three of the screws out, but I couldn't remove one. Um, I'll mess with it once I have more time. But here, you just remove one of them protective screw caps to expose the um, pellet probe Allen screw, and then you'll be able to, if it tends to feel loose, you more than likely need to snug it up some. So mine's was actually a little bit wobbly, so all I did was tighten it some. So, and that's why I'm doing it here for you folks. So that's another Allen screw. Just snug it up. You don't need to over tighten as well. So um, you'll be able to see it here. It's good to cock back the biathlon lever. That way, you know, you push the Allen screw as far back, so it's easier to access. So that's basically it right here. Righty tighty, lefty loosey. So just counterclockwise to loosen. I don't know why you would, if you're unless you're removing it for maintenance, but yeah, you just need to snug it up and you're good to go. Clockwise to tighten. Here's a little better angle at it. So I really just, all I did was cock the lever some until it was all the way back. So now you can access it a little bit, and now it's nice and snug. It's not fiddly anymore. It may affect you know, accuracy because of the way it's pushing the pellet into the probe. It might be slightly angled, so pay attention to that every now and then, every few, maybe every 500 shots or whatnot. We skipped the how to put it back, the cover, but for this one, just so you folks know, we're gonna take you through the step as far as putting back the main body armor. I'm not sure the proper term for them, but I just call it body armor. So you want to put, you want to just screw in a few threads for the two left and right screw to sort of line it up. You don't want to tighten it yet. You want to sort of just make sure it's lined up by putting it a few threads in to line it up, and then you want to take the main screw that holds majority of the body in place and locks it in, the longer bolt. That's what you want to tighten first, you know. So get that nice and snug, not crazy tight, just nice and snug. It's not like you're going into full tactical battle mode or anything and bussing it up. You're just, you know, you're plinking and shooting and whatever. So just nice and snug. That's it. Once you got it nice and snug, and then you can go ahead and tighten the two other screws. So again, it's nice and snug. That's all you need. You don't need to go hammer Joe on it and just go full on gung-ho, and you're pretty much done. Some of y'all may be wondering why we didn't do the reg pressure. That's because majority of the time that's already set to optimum, and we don't want to sacrifice any more shot counts. So maybe in another video we'll show you folks that, but we didn't have to for ours, and we got 60 foot-pounds of energy, and we're pretty much set. We didn't sacrifice much of shot counts either. We're still getting about 57 to 62 shots per fill. So hope you folks enjoyed the video, and hope that built up some confidence in tuning your rifle and making adjustments to your preferences. And stay tuned for more videos, and see you folks later. Aloha.
Lot of people on YouTube, you call me a homo, but you think I stand by this? Well, that shit is a no-go. You're all common one, because what user did, that don't give you the right to call me that name and shit. Motherfucker named Blue Summer, posted a video